The reason that Alcaraz is able to have a level of effectiveness that no one on earth has against him is because he can hit every shot, right? He can hit the drop shots. On clay, he can fade away. If Sinner knows what's coming, it is curtains. It's like Ohtani and Barry Bonds looking for a pitch. They rarely miss it if they know what's coming. Carlos has 5 pitches versus a fastball and an off-speed pitch.
Andy Roddick just went on record with the most controversial tennis take of the year. He broke down exactly why Carlos Alcaraz has abilities that Djokovic, Nadal, Federer, and Murray never had. The former world #1 didn't hold back, and the tennis world is absolutely losing it. Haters are scrambling to defend their legends while Roddick stands firm on his analysis. This explanation changes everything. Before we get into Roddick's breakdown, drop a comment. Is Alcaraz actually more talented than the big three at his age? Or is Roddick overhyping him? I want to hear your honest opinion on this.
One of the challenges, I think, when we go indoors is that Carlos loses one of his options, right? He can't flip the ball up and away from Sinner. He's not going to kick it out wide. The bounce stays a little bit more muted, right? So it's tougher to get out of Sinner's pocket indoors. And this is, I don't want to be hyperbolic, when you can't really go up and out of the zone, and then you kind of have to win points through his pocket, I think it becomes even more challenging for players when they go against Jannik indoors. Whereas, you know, if you had a heat map of where people put you in trouble, Jannik's heat map would be between his shoulders and his knees, and he crushes you if he's in that heat map, whereas Carlos has the ability to get outside of that heat map more than anyone else.
Andy Roddick doesn't say things just to get attention. He's not some random analyst desperate for clicks. This is a former world #1, a Grand Slam champion, someone who competed against Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic in their primes. He knows elite tennis better than almost anyone on the planet. So when he says that Carlos Alcaraz has capabilities that none of those legends possessed, people need to pay attention. And that's exactly what he said, in detail, with specific examples that are impossible to argue against.
I always say I think Jannik has 2 forehands. I think it's you run him to the forehand side, he obviously can hurt you out of the corners. You run him to the backhand side, he can still hurt you out of the corners. When I was growing up, we were always taught typically you want to approach to the backhand, you want to approach inside out because it limits their ability, because they have to it's kind of tough without a court, but they have to kind of cross their foot, maybe use a slice. You kind of get it's just a little bit more uncomfortable to hit it this way than it is from like a semi-open position. Jannik has just mastered being able to just fire balls out of the corners on both sides.
Let's start with what Roddick said about Jannik Sinner, because understanding Sinner helps explain why Alcaraz is so special. Roddick called Sinner the best he's ever seen at controlling the middle of the court. When Sinner serves or returns deep into the center, he swallows that space with pace. You can't gain ground on him with power. Nobody goes through Sinner's center. It's a wall. Roddick compared him to Djokovic 2.0, maybe an inch taller with similar defensive capabilities, but even more aggressive on the front foot. That's high praise and probably accurate.
To Carlos's point, though, I really, I love watching Carlos because as a kid at the time who grew up watching the Big Four, I see elements of the Big Four in Carlos's game. Every single one of them. I see the second serve return. We see Carlos now stepping up close to the baseline, stinging it on the backhand side. Reminds me of Murray. Like, it reminds me of Murray, his ability to kind of step up, inject pace really quickly, and then get back. He's got a phenomenal lob as well. When he's hitting the forehand, I think usually I would say it's a bit more like Rafa, but I think his running forehand, and when he's looking to take time away, when he has to cut the angle off, take that forehand line and run to the net, his skills at the net resemble Roger, like undoubtedly his ability.
But here's where it gets interesting. Roddick explained that the reason Alcaraz has a level of effectiveness against Sinner that nobody else on earth has is because he can hit every shot. Not just baseline rallies, not just overpowering forehands. Every shot. Drop shots on clay. Angled winners off defensive positions. Net approaches with Federer-level touch. He has 5 different ways to hurt you while most players have maybe 2. Roddick compared it to facing a pitcher who has 5 pitches instead of just a fastball and an off-speed option. If you know what's coming from most players, you can defend it. With Alcaraz, even if you know what's coming, he's got 4 other options that are equally dangerous.
And the thing is, Carlos makes a lot of flashy volleys, but he's so technically sound. When Roger, I remember as a kid watching Roger volley, and coaches would always say, don't volley like that, because he's just gifted. Like he can break the wrist, he can break some of the rules that you kind of told how you need to get down at eye level. Carlos is such a technically sound volleyer, and that part reminds me of Roger. And of course, Novak, his defensive skills out of the corners, being able to kind of inject pace on the backhand, scrap and claw. Like he has all of the big four. So in this matchup with Sinner, it's just about, we talk about he's a magician. It's just about playing the right things at the right time. And I think what we saw recently, this new implementation of crush and rush at times, where Carlos is just going to try to utilize all the tools that he has to keep Sinner uncomfortable.
That variety is what separates Alcaraz from everyone who came before him. Roddick pointed out that Sinner's game is brilliant but predictable in a specific way. If you stay in the middle of the court and trade pace with him, you're going to lose. He's too good there. But Alcaraz doesn't have to play that game. He can flip the ball up and away from Sinner's strike zone. He can kick serves out wide. He can drop shot. He can approach the net. He forces opponents to defend an entire arsenal instead of just one or two weapons. Roddick made a fascinating point about indoor tennis. He said when matches move indoors, Alcaraz loses one of his options because the bounce stays more muted. He can't kick the ball up and out of Sinner's pocket as effectively. That makes indoor matches more challenging for Alcaraz because he's forced to win points through Sinner's preferred zone. And that's incredibly difficult because Sinner's heat map of dominance is between his shoulders and his knees. If the ball stays in that area, he crushes you. Alcaraz's advantage is his ability to get outside that heat map more than anyone else on earth. That's the difference. Now let's get to the big three comparisons, because this is where Roddick really sets himself apart from typical analysts. He didn't just say Alcaraz is good, he broke down exactly which elements of Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, and even Murray exist in Alcaraz's game, and why having all of them makes him potentially better than any single one of them ever was.
And then I think Carlos is this wrap-up of, on clay, that forehand comes off and it bounces over your head, right? He's able to flatten it out like Roger and use that kind of the amazing footwork, right? You can have a big forehand, but if you can't get your feet set quick enough in position, then you can't pull the trigger as often. I think the gift of Roger and the comp to Carlos is the footwork. Their feet barely touch the ground. They don't have to think about how to get in position. They can hit it big going left. They can hit it big going right. The angles they're able to take with their footwork makes their forehands feel even bigger.
From Federer, Alcaraz has the footwork and the net game. Roddick emphasized that Federer's feet barely touch the ground. He didn't have to think about getting into position. He could hit big shots going left or right because his footwork was so efficient. Alcaraz has that same gift. His feet move with unconscious precision, which makes his forehand feel even bigger than it is because he's always in perfect position to unload. At the net, Alcaraz is technically sound in ways that even Federer sometimes wasn't. Federer could break the rules because he was gifted enough to get away with it. Alcaraz doesn't need to break the rules. His volley technique is textbook perfect while still being creative and flashy. From Nadal, Alcaraz has the physicality and the topspin forehand. On clay especially, his forehand jumps off the surface and bounces over opponents' heads just like Nadal's did. He has that same ability to flip balls back from impossible defensive positions and turn defense into offense instantly. The intensity and the willingness to grind through brutal rallies without losing focus comes directly from watching Nadal dominate for 2 decades. From Djokovic, Alcaraz has the defensive skills and the mental toughness. He can retrieve balls from the corners that should be winners. He can inject pace on the backhand side from defensive positions. He scraps and claws and refuses to concede points. That Djokovic-like resilience in pressure moments is what allows Alcaraz to win matches even when he's not playing his best tennis. And from Murray, Alcaraz has the return game and the ability to step up inside the baseline and take time away from opponents. Roddick specifically mentioned how Alcaraz now steps close to the baseline on second serves and stings it on the backhand side, exactly like Murray used to do. That ability to inject pace quickly and then recover is pure Murray influence. Here's the critical point that Roddick made. Alcaraz is a marriage of all 4 of those legends. He's not just good at one thing like each of them was. He has the best attributes of all of them combined into one package. And that's why he's potentially more dangerous than any of them ever were individually. Federer never had Nadal's defense. Nadal never had Federer's net game. Djokovic never had Federer's attacking instincts. Murray never had Nadal's physicality, but Alcaraz has all of it. Roddick also made a brilliant comparison between how Federer and Nadal used to return serves. Federer would step in and chip returns on the backhand side, putting the ball in play and relying on his superior positioning to control the point from a neutral exchange. Nadal preferred to stay back and flip the ball up with massive topspin, creating uncomfortable bounces that put opponents on their heels. Alcaraz can do both. He can hit the punchy short returns like Murray, or he can stay back and create angles like Nadal, or he can chip like Federer. He has every option available and he chooses the right one based on the situation. That adaptability is what Roddick kept coming back to. It's not just that Alcaraz has all these tools, it's that he knows when to use each one. He's a magician who understands the right trick for the right moment. Against Sinner, that means using variety to keep him uncomfortable. Crush and rush tactics where Alcaraz attacks early and comes to the net. Slices that bring Sinner forward and then passing shots that catch him off balance. Drop shots that force movement and then lobs over his head. It's a constant stream of unpredictability that nobody else can match. Roddick pointed out that Sinner is basically Djokovic 2.0. Same defensive brilliance, same ability to swallow pace, same mental fortitude, but maybe an inch taller and slightly more aggressive on the front foot. That's a scary combination. And yet Alcaraz has had more success against Sinner than anyone else because he refuses to play the game on Sinner's terms. He changes the script constantly, which is exactly what you need to do against a player who dominates when things become predictable. The personality comparison was also fascinating. Roddick and his co-hosts discussed how Alcaraz and Sinner are nothing like the big three in terms of temperament. Alcaraz has this permanent smile and a showstopper instinct. He's not calculating like Djokovic or understated like Federer or ritualistic like Nadal. He plays with pure joy and embraces the big moments with enthusiasm that's infectious. Sinner, meanwhile, doesn't have Djokovic's ability to create and feed off friction with crowds. He's more neutral, more robotic in his focus. These are different personalities creating a different kind of rivalry. Roddick pushed back slightly on the idea that Federer didn't enjoy hitting crazy shots for the crowd. He argued that Federer absolutely loved those moments. He just didn't seek them out as obviously as Alcaraz does. Federer would hit a saber when he was up 2-0, not desperately needing a momentum shift. It was more of a smirk than a celebration. Alcaraz, on the other hand, will point to his ear and look up to the crowd after a ridiculous drop shot winner. The difference in showmanship is clear, but both players understood how to work a crowd. What makes Roddick's analysis so powerful is that it's not based on hype or potential. It's based on what Alcaraz has already demonstrated on court. He's beaten Djokovic in Grand Slam finals. He's beaten Sinner on multiple surfaces. He's won majors on hard courts, grass, and clay. He's proven he can adapt and succeed anywhere. And he's only 21 years old. The scary part is that he's still improving in areas where he's already elite. The comparison to having 5 pitches instead of 2 is perfect. Most tennis players are like pitchers with a fastball and a changeup. They're effective, but if you sit on the right pitch, you can handle them. Alcaraz is like facing someone with a fastball, slider, curveball, changeup, and splitter. Even if you guess right on one, he's got 4 other options that are equally dangerous. That's not just talent. That's completeness at a level the sport hasn't seen before. Roddick's breakdown also highlighted why indoor tennis is harder for Alcaraz. When the conditions are slower and bouncier outdoors, he can use spin and height to take opponents out of their comfort zones. Indoors, the ball stays flatter and faster, which plays into Sinner's strengths. That's why their indoor matches tend to be closer and more competitive. But even with that disadvantage, Alcaraz has found ways to win by using variety and attacking more aggressively. That adaptability is what great champions do. The fact that a former world number 1 who competed against Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic is saying that Alcaraz has elements of all 3 that none of them individually possessed is a massive statement. Roddick isn't some casual fan making bold claims for attention. He's someone who studied those players obsessively, competed against them at their peaks, and understands elite tennis at the highest level. When he says Alcaraz is a marriage of the Big Four's best attributes that carries weight, haters and purists are struggling with this take because it challenges the established hierarchy. People have spent years debating whether Federer, Nadal, or Djokovic is the greatest. Now Roddick is suggesting that Alcaraz might eventually surpass all of them because he has capabilities that none of them had individually. That's a tough pill to swallow for fans who have invested emotionally in the GOAT debate. But the evidence supports Roddick's argument. Alcaraz is already doing things at 21 that the big three weren't doing at that age. He's more complete, he's more versatile, he's more unpredictable. And if he stays healthy and continues developing, there's no ceiling on what he can achieve. That's not disrespecting the big three. That's recognizing that the sport evolves and that the next generation builds on what came before. So there you have it. Andy Roddick laid out exactly why Carlos Alcaraz has abilities that Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, and Murray never combined in one player. The haters can't handle it, but the analysis is airtight. If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more honest tennis content. Do you agree with Roddick's take? Let me know in the comments below.